Hi, and welcome to the 1 in 20 show. Today I have a more topical solo episode to do. I'm joined by Chris Yu, who's now become a big part of our operation here and was actually the first episode on the show, funny enough. He's here to help me moderate the topic of what is the definition of success. This has been something that has come up a good amount now as we've continued to move along with guests. I felt like it was a good time to kind of talk about it because a lot of artists and friends I know get really discouraged because it's hard. You know, it is a dog-eat-dog world, and it's really hard to be able to side with, am I doing good or am I doing like not good enough? How does that work itself out? So I'm here to kind of challenge the definition of success. I felt like just nowadays it's so hard to really side with one or another. I feel like a lot of people are let down by it. So I wanted to start kind of with the older adage and the old definition of what used to be successful. Our grandparents' age people, I felt, what used to be good was having a job that sustained, having kids, and being married. All of those things were important. And then on top of that, there was still a helpful mentality where people went out of their way for other people, and that was seen as successful because you care for your family, you care for your job, which you are committed to, making money to provide for your family and your wife. And then it was just part of mankind to go and help somebody.
It was very altruistic back then. It's a sort of outside yourself sort of thing.
So different. But what I wanted to get into is, I was talking to my mom about this because she felt like that was even her parents' generation, how she was kind of raised. But as she grew older, and I think your mom and kind of all of that, I think were they baby boomers? No, that's way before. I think they were like Gen X or Gen Z or whatever like that.
There's so many labels.
There's so many, so many timestamps and what have you. But she was telling me that it started progressively getting more and more self-centered by the sense of, she even mentioned just women when she was going through college. It was like women are starting to go for careers. Yeah. I don't have anything against that, but I think that does contribute nowadays to the very me first mentality. And I wanted to kind of chat about how I think that is the reason why social media is as big as it is nowadays, and how in a lot of ways I don't think that that's necessarily right. I feel like every guest that we've had on so far, we end up chatting about how social media and success is so like, I don't know, you can play into that a little, Chris, because you've been here for most of the episodes, but everybody kind of says, I don't know if, I don't know if I'm doing this right, but everybody's kind of looking for that validation, and then everybody goes to social media.
It's
weird.
You're never going to be able to find 100% like assurance in really anything you do. Life just has a way of really changing everything that happens in your life. You have these dreams, you have these aspirations. Like for me personally, it's going to law school after I graduate this coming spring from university, but that could change, like there's so many variables and so many things that it's just like, just plan for what you can, we each have our dreams and aspirations, and there's absolutely, you should go for it, you can't be paralyzed by feeling like this isn't necessarily the right thing to do. That can't be your only thing that's stopping you, because just you need to stick to one thing and go for it, because otherwise you're just going to be trapped in this bubble of doubt and anxiety and fear, and then you're going to end up getting nowhere.
Right. Well, and this is something, part of the reason I have Chris on for this episode too, is we share a very similar mindset as we approach situations. He's one of my best friends, and we always chat about these things, and I think we've both been able to see that through the people that are coming on. And I started putting up like a couple weeks ago, I had put up little things on my Instagram saying that I kind of felt discouraged, because I think it's okay to acknowledge that you feel discouraged, especially as an artist, because you don't really know. Things are kind of up in the air, what defines success and all of that. That's kind of what we're talking about. But I had a lot of friends and different artists respond back to me saying, yeah, can you do something talking about this subject that, seems to be so hard fast to a lot of people. But I wanted to kind of challenge the success mantra and liken it to maybe the follower count, because I feel like a lot of times people nowadays go on their social media, especially our age, and say, wow, look, he's got a lot of followers, or she has a lot of followers.
Yeah.
And I don't think people really equate anything with that, but maybe they're, successful. But there's so many icons out there that are now, 15-year-old rappers who are climbing that ladder, and then all of a sudden they have 1 million followers, and nobody knows why they have them. They're okay at what they do. I wouldn't say they're good at what they do. Some rappers like Lil Xan, I don't even know who he is. I don't know his music, but somehow he has a couple million followers. Does that make him successful? Yes and no. I think that in a lot of ways, success is coupled with, you can actually make money from social media. You can make money from views on YouTube. You can do all that. But there's still so much life experience that's yet to happen for somebody 15 or even 21. 1 million followers, I don't think dictates that. And I feel like a lot of us get really, really down about the fact that maybe we don't have the social presence we want on social media. Like, we don't have 1 million followers. Well, am I being heard? And that's something that I think kills people. It's a very backstabbing and me first environment now. I think that has changed drastically over 10 years, because now social media gives people a voice when they don't necessarily have one. I don't know if you wanted to weigh in on that, but it is very interesting. All of a sudden now somebody who really didn't have a place in an argument can suddenly just let it all out on somebody.
Right. And I mean, social media is just a weird thing because, like you were talking about, when people see a large follower count, they think, okay, this person, the rationale behind it really is just this person has other people who are listening to them and following them and really trying to keep up with their lives, so they must have something to say, or they must be valuable in that sense. Because it's like, if you were actually valuable, then it would show, and that people will recognize that. And that's really just the hard part with going back to doubt and fears and anxiety of just the future and what you're pursuing in your life. You can never really base your success off of follower count. I mean, that sometimes is a byproduct, especially it's a huge discussion with fame and success and how they tie together, especially in the arts and things like theater and film, acting. The problem with tying those two together and saying that I'm not successful unless I have a following is that you seem to be almost entirely basing your content and the things you're creating, which would be good things, off of pleasing other people. And the thing is that really all the greatest things that were created were not created in mind of trying to please other people. They were created for the sake of being great. If all you do when you're trying to make something of your life, or just trying to create some amazing piece of art, whether that's in film or in writing or anything, you have to be doing it for the sake of it being good and as an outward expression of yourself, or else you're not going to be doing anything new. You're just going to be doing what you think will please other people, and that never creates true, unique creation in art.
Right. You know? Well, let me bounce off that too by saying success should not be defined by that. In my opinion, I think success should be defined as hard work and persistence toward your goal. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that, because especially when you're coming up, there's so much, the odds are ever against you to be able to reach your goals, right? I mean, there's so many things where, am I really going to be able to make it? I don't know. And I don't know personally. Me, Evan, I don't know that. Chris doesn't know that. There's so many things, even just getting toward a successful career. I'm not even talking just entertainment and talent that way. There's so many odds. And really the odds, I think, are grown and increased due to the amount of people that are in the US, due to the amount of young teenagers that, you know, can now showcase their work on YouTube. YouTube and Vimeo and those digital platforms are great because you're able to actually showcase your work. But then at the same time, because there's no limit to that, now all these other people are sharing, right? And I think that is what discourages people our age. Am I really doing something that matters? And I'm here to say yes. I think I want to be as much of an encouragement as I can be through this show, because I felt the whole reason I wanted to do this thing was because I knew I didn't have a position or a platform is what I mean. I didn't have a platform. So I was like, well, but there's still so much talent. There's still so much raw talent that I know and that I'm surrounded by that are doing great things. Do they have a social presence on social media, on Instagram and stuff? Not really, but they're still up to great things. Some of these people that we've had on, Jimmy Moreno, Carly Webster, Aaron Chalaki, and all of these people are very well established in their college age, young adult life. And I think that is great. And if you guys have seen or learned anything from this show, it's that those people go for it, and you have to go for it. And I think a lot of times I wanted to get into, a lot of people our age give up and they say, I can't, but you can. That's the thing. There are some things that may be a little unrealistic, you know, like maybe you're reaching too far ahead. But if you're working within your wheelhouse and you know that you're talented and you know that you can try something or want to try something, then go try it. Don't let anybody hold you back. I think that's my thing. Is for me, I just wanted, with even this show, I had no past experience doing this besides the fact that I knew that I love to communicate with people. I love to communicate with my friends and get deep and get below that surface level. But I never knew I could host something like this. And it's a very small operation right now, but that doesn't mean it can't grow. And that doesn't mean that me taking a step forward in this field limits me from film, limits me from theater. It doesn't. It's all part of a collective effort to try to build your brand, which we talk a lot about on the show. Build yourself to a point where you are now marketable to be able to do a lot of things. And I wanted to kind of bring up the fact that a broad amount of interests is better than being closed-minded. You know, a good example of this is, I think somebody like Jimmy Moreno, or Carly Webster, or, you know, Aaron or Justin Horowitz, or all these people have come on, Zach Kemper, and they've tried so many things in their life and they keep trying. Aaron tried acting. She was a dancer at first, and then she started acting in college, but then she also did carpentry and welding, and then she, you know what I mean? She's moved around. Even you, Chris, like in your pursuits of starting as a business major and then now an English major, yeah, that hopefully makes you a better lawyer one day in business school. I don't know if you, or not in business school, sorry, in law school.
No, yeah. Like,
it's a well-rounded thing.
Exactly. And that's just the thing, is that when you're dealing with success, when you're dealing with trying to really find yourself in that way, you have to fail. Always have to fail. If you, this seems to be, at least in my personal life, this seems to be a general rule, that when I've met someone and they've had an easy life where they've had stuff given to them, or they really haven't had many opportunities to fail, they have not grown at all. They've not been mature. They've not been capable. They haven't been able to really put anything out there that's particularly worthwhile, because they just haven't failed. And that seems oxymoronic, but you're going to find that any person who's really produced anything great has tasted failure probably 10 times as much as the one thing they've put out. Because it's so necessary, you know, that's how you learn. You don't learn except through pain, except through failure. And so when we're going to pursue our careers, for me, it's law. There's just going to be so many times where we're punched in the face and just knocked on our butts, and it hurts. And sometimes that goes on for a long time. Yeah. And it really doesn't seem like there's that light at the end of the tunnel. But yeah, I mean, that's the whole journey. That's the whole point, especially with this show, is just encouraging that sort of sort of drive, that motivation, and that encouraging people to be able to go and seek that. I mean, I've always been a firm believer that it's better to run towards something that you love than to flee from something that you fear.
Yeah.
Because when you're running towards something that you love, you're going to be running with purpose and with aim and with goal. And when you're running from something that you fear, you're just going to be, it's just going to be instinctual. It's going to be almost like primal. You're just trying to survive at that point. And that's not living. That's not existence. It's just surviving. There has to be something more to that. Yeah. And so if you're letting yourself be captured by anxiety and by fear, especially with something as big as your career, you're going to end up being a hollow shell of yourself in the end.
Yeah.
Because you'll find that you've just completely missed the point in that way.
Yeah.
You need to be doing something because you love it. And even when those very natural anxieties that we all have about our career come up, just sort of push those to the side and just pull the trigger on it, because otherwise it's not going to be very good for you.
Yeah. Well, let me challenge you all with something. Are you really living is a really big question, but are you living? And in the sense, what I mean by that is, do you feel like you're doing or trying what you want to try? Because you're young. We're young. The whole point of growing up is to try stuff. And social media is so like adamant, almost adamantly against that. They want you to believe whoever they is, the populace, I don't know. What is pressuring you in the direction of saying you can't try something? You're young, man. We're all so young that there's just this time where it's very awkward and very raw, where we're trying to figure something out. But don't let that depress you. In fact, the fact that you're acknowledging that you maybe don't know what you're doing, that's great. I feel that way. I feel totally that way every day. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm sure as heck going to try. I'm going to keep trying to do these things. And I don't think what defines success is making it. I think success is defined by how willing you are to put yourself out there and go and try stuff. Try it. There's so much that can come from that. I don't know. I'm very passionate about this because that's the whole point of being young. And I've been in the position, Chris has been in the position, many people we've talked to on the show have been in the position where they're flat out depressed because they feel like they're worthless. You're not worthless. I mean, this sounds very preachy, but I mean this in the best way, because there's so many of our friends that I feel get to this point, and there's probably so many people or maybe you're even that person, where you feel like I have nothing to offer. But you have something to offer. The whole beauty about being on this earth, being a human, is that you are gifted in a specific way. And if you're able to find that gift, it can manifest itself in so many different avenues, especially as an artist. That could be really any different medium in the arts, because guess what? You're expressing yourself. I felt in a really real way, this show has given me an opportunity to actually voice some of the opinions that I try to bring out through my photography, through my film, through my theater, but I haven't really been able to outright say it. Now, I wanted to make this episode because I want you to be encouraged. Please be encouraged. You're not alone. We've talked about it with Zach Kemper. We've talked about it with Jimmy Moreno. Guys who were flat out depressed at one point in their life and struggled with anxiety deeply. I struggle with anxiety. I know Chris struggles with anxiety. Thinkers really struggle with that because you're taking in so much of the world and you don't know what's right. You don't know if you're making the right steps toward your goals. You don't know. But the biggest thing for me that I learned just in the last year, and have been continually learning, because I'm not trying to offer any advice from a perspective that's high and mighty. Really, it's more, I'm just speaking to the fact that we're growing through this. But I wanted to say that when I acknowledged that I didn't have everything figured out, I immediately went like this. It was like, oh.
It's just the weight off the chest, It's
the
like
weight off the chest.
on your shoulders. that's just such a crucial part of going through this life, is just to understand that there's so much that is just completely out of your control.
Yeah. And there's so much more to life than looking inside. Don't look inside. You know, in a way, yes, of course, you do have to be able to see where you fall short, or see where you need to grow. But when it comes to a point where you are flat out depressed, if you're having a horrible day, never look inside. Never be alone. Never be alone. That, to me, is a big, big one.
Yeah, and especially...
Don't do it.
I'm speaking as someone who's... One of their biggest struggles throughout their entire life has been being cynical and being a complete overthinker. And I mean, those two go together, because you overthink a situation so much that you've seen every possible avenue that you think this could go. And then just being cynical makes it so you see all the negative ways that it can go, and you just assume it's going to go that way. And then you just destroy yourself internally, because all you're doing is dwelling on the worst, you know?
Yeah.
And it's so true that you really need those people around you during those really darker times, those introspective times when you just feel overwhelmed or you don't know what to do. You need those people to pull you out and to show you that life isn't necessarily as complicated, complex, as crazy as you're making it seem. You just need to be kind of taking each day at a time and just, you know, hope for the best, because life will find a way, any way that it will. It's gonna treat you a certain way, and life's not going to go good, and you're going to have a lot of issues. But when we're here, there's a choice to be had when you're faced with those circumstances, how to deal with it. And it's going to be for your benefit, for all of our benefit, to be able to choose a better road than to just introspect so hard that you ended up getting depressed. Yeah.
Well, I totally agree. Absolutely agree. But life always has a way of proving you wrong. And for me, that is what woke me up to the fact that I was okay. I did mention this before, but there was a point in my life, senior year, where so much of that unknown, and that really has been my kryptonite of sorts, the unknown things of life, what's coming next, what am I supposed to do, all of those things. Whenever I walk into a new avenue of my life, I'm horrified. Even now that I've been learning how to train myself to be better in it, I'm still scared every time I walk into a new avenue. In senior year, it seemed like there was nothing familiar anymore, and I was introspecting so hard that it was like leading me to think suicidal, and that really woke me up when I started realizing, what am I doing? That is the most selfish thing that you can do to your family, to your friends, to the people that you know. That is the worst thing you could do. And I really came to the heart of the issue, found the heart of the issue was selfishness, in the sense that if you look so deep inside and you try to deny people on the outside trying to help you, you're not doing anything good for yourself at all. You're self-destructing. And I don't want anybody to take this overall message of being successful and being so beating yourself so much up on the inside that you end up, giving up. There's always a point where we feel like we're going to fall. And there's always points where we make steps of success and growth, and life just finds a way of cutting you down, and you come right back to the bottom. And then you have to build up again. But you learn every time. You know what I mean? The staircase crumbles, but you start to learn every time as you build it back easier and easier that you can make it over those hurdles. So really, a whole reason I wanted to share about this and open up a little bit from my perspective, Chris's perspective, is because we want this show to be very therapeutic for people as well. It's not in a pseudo weird, we're not debating topics all the time, but this one has been really tearing at me recently, and I felt that it was good to bring it up because we talk about it with every guest in a little segment, but I wanted to amplify that. So just know depression is common among people our age, and that doesn't have to you don't have to identify as depressed. That's something I wish I would have known in high school, was hey, you don't have to, mom and dad were like, stop being so depressed, and for me, that didn't do anything better for me, because it like made me want to like clam up even more, like, and just go inside. But I started realizing, like, oh, people are trying to tell me it's okay, and I'm denying that. I'm
Right.
denying them of the privilege of telling me that, so I can get better.
It almost, like, during those really dark times, it becomes almost fetishized to say that you're depressed or say that you're struggling and having anxiety. It's almost like you identify with that, and it's not necessarily because it feels good, because obviously it feels horrible, and it's lonely, it's dark, it's excruciating, but it seems to be the only thing that you can really be sure of in that moment, is that you're not feeling great. And for anybody who's feeling that way, it's you. The cliche phrase is that it gets better, but for me personally, during those times, I just had to, like you were saying, you just really have to step outside yourself and really put your trust in people who are around you, who love you. Because for me, when I was struggling with that, I had a lot of love for others, and a lot of genuine love. I cared about people. I cared about how they were doing, what they wanted. I wanted to, please them in that sense, as my friends, as my family, or whatever it may be. But I wouldn't afford that same privilege to others. I would just assume in this cynicism that I have, that they would say these things to me, say nice things to me, out of some sense of obligation, or out of some sense of feeling like they have to care for this kid who's going through a hard time. But if you really just, and this manifested itself also in just the advice I would give to others. If someone was in my exact position, I would give them the advice of saying they do care about you, they do truly love you. You're like, this hard time that you're going through is they're really trying to help you.
Yeah.
And I think that was just the biggest realization for me, is that when you're in those dark places, just try to give yourself advice, the same advice that you would give to a friend who's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Because it's true for you and it's true for them.
Absolutely.
Just because you yourself are depressed or are going through a hard time, this is something we share. We all share these struggles. We all share fear. We all have anxieties. We all have times where we're just sad and we can't really get through the day. And I hope that just as we go on the show, the message can be more clear about how we're in this together. You know, we always need to remember that no one's alone in that regard. Yep.
And I was just literally going to land with that little phrase. You're not alone. Never think you're alone. Please don't, because I'm not trying to say it in a forceful way. I just get very passionate. But just don't go there, because the minute that you start thinking that way, you're not thinking of the wonderful people around you and the wonderful opportunities that you have. There's so many. We're in the greatest country in the world to be able to do whatever we want. We're free to do things. And just in recap, to success, in my opinion, is you getting to reach your goals and feel that you've reached them, and then set your next goals, and you keep going, and you're being successful because you're using the resources you have to be able to push forward and keep going. That's the biggest thing. You have to keep motivating yourself to keep going. And that is so the message of this show. I want to bring these people on to keep giving examples that you're okay, I'm okay, and we can keep going. Let's keep going. I don't have a platform. I'm a nobody at this point. But this show, the 1 in 20 show, has to stand for just that. Otherwise, there's no purpose in me doing this. The whole point that we want to show people this love is really just because it's, we want to show people this love and this mission statement that you just got to keep pushing forward. Keep doing it. Keep going. And one day something good will happen. One day something good will come from everything that you do and everything that you express yourself through. And don't hold back. You got to show people who you are and just keep going for it. So that to me is the epitome of what this show stands for. And I think every episode that we do, we realize how much people are connecting with the show. I think people are connecting in a really small way. But to me, I feel great. Who cares if we have 1 million subscribers? It's really, the mission is to reach people in a way where they, are able to grow and keep growing and growing and growing. So thank you for supporting the show.
Yeah.
me and Chris and Peter and other people that are now involved in the show can't believe how within a month, leaps and bounds, we are like leaps and bounds ahead of where we were a month ago. 2 months ago, we did, we were just talking. We did our first podcast without any video on 2 paint cans in my room.
These mics, these smaller mics were just mounted on paint cans.
Yeah,
in his
these
room.
exact mics.
Yep.
Just sitting on little things in my room. And we were talking about
whatever. Just literally the most inconsequential things. But it's been so amazing. God's been so good to grow the show into something where we're able to talk about real issues, And
Exactly.
and like Evan was saying earlier, we're young. We're all still figuring this out too. It's really a journey that we're taking with you guys as we just explore what life has to offer in that sense.
And that's
so much.
But just for us to accept that, I feel puts us in a really good place. And I think that's why people, why you guys, I hope, would enjoy the show, is because we really do put ourselves out there and the guests put themselves out there. But, I remember getting a call from Lisa Valuze, who helps me with the show and helps me find guests and things. And she called me after the first couple interviews that we did, the podcast ones, the kind of more goofy ones. And she was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "Well, this is not you. The Evan I know," this is coming from Lisa, "is somebody who goes below that surface layer and draws out the deep things in people. And why aren't you doing that?" And so the episode, the recent clip of me defining the niche of the show and all that stuff has been in reaction to that, because I realized that really this shouldn't be a comedy show. Like, I shouldn't be just goofing around. If I'm going to do something, it should have purpose. And that's kind of what I'm trying to now spread with everybody who watches this, is the things you do should have purpose, and they do have purpose. So go make them. Go have fun and enjoy your life and make those things. Obviously, you have to make money.
Right.
but in a sense, while you're young, while you're in school, high school, college, however old, you have to just go for it and try it.
Yeah.
This is my last year of school. This is Chris's last year of school until he goes off to law school. And my mantra is get better every day and try something new you haven't done before. I've said it a million times, but I was I was going right into like a set life, like going right into film last semester. Then the minute I got on summer break, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this just isn't me. I need to try other things. Theater, I need to do music. I need to do something to wake myself up and try something. So go try something today. Don't be limited by what people think you should be doing. Don't be limited by a follower count. And don't let your Instagram or your Facebook or your Twitter bog you down. Those can be very negative and introspective places for people to go and say, this is me. But most of the time, it's a fake version of that person. I would challenge you in that way as well, is how fake are we on our social media? How transparent can we be? So, as we continue forward, the merch has been ordered.
Oh, yes.
We're going to be selling some shirts, some 1 in 20 shirts soon. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, even though I just said don't be too, whatever. Anyway, we do have those things. If you would like to take advantage of seeing clips from the show, follow us at 1 in 20 Show. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned. I promise you will be very encouraged by the episodes that have been filmed, that are going to be coming out. And thank you guys for watching. And thank you for supporting the mission and the drive of the show.